Hurricane Florence came into Wilmington, North Carolina, packing 110-mile-an-hour winds. She was a Category 2 storm and dumped 24 inches of rain. This is a little video I shot of my neighborhood, showing some of the downed trees and fences and some of the flooding in just my little area of Wilmington. This across the street from me, big tree down over the fence. This is up the street, a municipal golf course. One of the rest areas is destroyed. I love this tree, man. It refused to give up. This one not so much, man. It snapped in half. Another shot of that tree. Now this is driving through an older neighborhood here near me that houses were probably built in the 50s or 60s, and some of the trees down here were just huge, and I would guess they were close to 100 years old, and it's really a shame. They've withstood other storms. We've had Fran and Bertha. I think we're both Category 2 storms, and Floyd, which might have been a Category 3. I know it really packed some winds. But look at these trees, man. Big old pine trees down, and a lot of them. The ground was just so saturated that with the high winds that we had, it just uprooted trees. And then, like you saw before, some of them just snapped right in half. So seems like every house had some kind of damage, whether it be a tree down or branches down or roof shingles gone. And you can see this is a couple weeks after the storm, and people are stacking their debris up along the road, and the city of Wilmington's going to have to pick all this up. And man, what a job. I think they say there was like $32 billion of damage from this storm. You see a big old tree there on the right that just uprooted, just laid right over. Shot at the bottom of the tree right there. And debris everywhere. I have to give a hand to all the people that came from out of town to help. There's another tree that uprooted. You can see it was laying across the road at one time. But all these tree service companies came from all over the country. I saw plates from Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, and they brought their equipment, their bobcats and backhoes and chainsaws, and just went to town. It got kind of bad after a couple weeks. Everybody was, we were an island at one time. Nobody could get, the people that evacuated couldn't get back. But once everybody started returning, along with all the service trucks and relief efforts, man, the roads were just packed, and it was almost impossible to travel. But as you can see, there's just debris and trees everywhere. Big trees. Look at the size of that one there. And if you've ever been through a hurricane, it's no fun to have that wind howling and hear a big tree hit the ground. I mean, it's like an earthquake. It just rattles the ground when it hits. It's quite frightening. You wonder if the next one's coming down on top of your house. Look at those trees, big ones, man. Here's some people trimming trees. They got a cherry picker up there, and it was just amazing the number of people that flooded into town to try to make a dollar and to help out. You can see how over on the left there was this guy lost a fence with a tree laid down over it. Also, another problem was power lines down. And man, I got to give a big hand to the power company, Duke Power, and all its affiliates that came into town and got the power back up. I think at one time it was close to 1 million people without power, and within 4 or 5 days they had like 75-80% of people back online. You can see there a big old tree that just uprooted, just the ground so moist it laid across the road, and of course had to be cleared before any traffic could get through. A couple trees on the right hand side there are just leaning over that someone will have to cut down. And while the tree trimming services were really helpful, it got to the point where there were some unscrupulous guys that were going around charging, price gouging, and I think there's some lawsuits pending now. A couple people were run out of town, told to just leave by the police. There's a big old, I think that's a cedar tree that took a hit. Just unbelievable the amount of debris that the city's going to have to pick up. They've started that operation now. I've seen a lot of these double-decker trailers that are going around picking up debris. Man, look at these trees. Big ones. That pine tree's 4 foot in diameter, man. That's a big tree. It's a shame to withstood so many storms, and then this one got them. I guess that's evolution. And you see just house after house after house with a tree down, or several trees down. This house on the corner is a friend of mine, Walter. Walter's probably in his late 80s, and he's a ham radio operator, and I was really concerned that he has this tower with a big antenna on top of it. I thought, oh man, there's no way that survived, but he lost several trees with that antenna hung in there. And we're coming up on a house that took some severe damage. You can see the trees out in front of it that were huge, and they obviously landed on the house and did some damage because they're ripping out all the sheetrock and all the cabinets and everything because of the flooding that came about from the roof being penetrated by the trees. And it's just a mountain trees along this road. Look off to the right there, you'll see a couple U-Haul trucks rather, coming up. And this is the house that took a hit. And look at the amount, look at the trees out front. You can see the debris they've taken out of the house, but look at these trees, man. That's just amazing. This is from like 1 yard. You look back over my right, you'll see where they're pulling everything out of the house. Man, that's a shame. Having your house flooded just from rain. And I could have gone on forever here, riding through this neighborhood. You see, there's a tree service, a little bobcat stacking stuff up, and those were everywhere, man. I mean, just guys were everywhere. And some people were trying to help, others were just trying to make $1, but I guess we all got to make a living. There's a tree service truck right there. There's another one rolling around. I mean, they were everywhere. This is my yard. On the side of my yard, I had a little wooded area that took a hit. We lost about, I'd say, 4 pine trees and then a big old oak tree that I never thought would have gone down. You can see it underneath, the stump underneath the backhoe there, underneath the 5s. But it just uprooted, man. The ground was so wet, moist, that there's nothing for the roots to hold on, and over it went. And we got real lucky that nothing hit the house of all the trees that were down. And this crew was out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they were really nice guys, and I swear they were hard-working fellas too. They didn't stop for anything. Really cleaned out the side of my house there. That's across the street, a tree laid down, and it's after a couple weeks here, you notice everything's turning brown. It's going to become a fire hazard. Things are so dry. You get a better shot of the little wooded area next to my house here. But it just tore it up, man. I mean, tore it up. There's a fence running around the side of my house along the road, and it was kind of old, but it was really torn up here. And here you can see some of the tree damage. There's a tree right next to my house that just snapped, just popped right over. Now this is down the street from me. And this is an area that comes up to what's called Hewlett's Creek, and it got some storm surge. If you've ever seen the TV show Dawson's Creek, that's where it was filmed here on Hewlett's Creek. And all these houses at the foot of this road are right on the creek, and the storm surge came up and flooded their houses, and you can see they've taken everything out of it, all their belongings, put them on the road to be hauled off by the trash man. It's really a shame. Anyway, that's some of the damage from Hurricane Florence, September 2018. I appreciate you taking the time to look at the video. If you would, please subscribe. Helps me out. Thanks a lot.